Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, and welcome to the live. You have reached Lady Ro's room, and welcome to the Queendom, where we, exalt queens and kings and let you know that hey, you are the stuff. So get moving with life. All right. It is Monday, honey. We got some noise outside. Somebody's upset. It is Monday, January the 12th, 2026. And we're going to take a deeper dive into this conversation between the Scots 2.0. I just think that this was actually worth taking a deeper dive. Hello, Michelle. Thanks for joining the live today. I just think it's worth taking a deeper dive. I'm probably not going to be on camera because I just feel like being relaxed today. I have on a t-shirt and some sweatpants. I am chilled. I just feel like the conversation that was had between Kimmy and Maurice definitely. Hey, see Michelle. The conversation was really a lot deeper, and we only kind of brushed the surface of it. Butterfly gave a really good input yesterday on how she felt like there was a lot that had happened in Maurice's childhood, who shaped who he is as an adult. I think that's one aspect of it. But I also want to bring in the aspect of women and how sometimes we stay around maybe way too longer than we should, maybe put up with a little bit of stuff that we should not put up with. And I just want to kind of just go take a little deeper dive, as I said in the intro. Just take a deeper dive, see what's actually going on, and go from there. We're just going to discuss it. I think as women and men, Black women and men specifically, that we really need to be horning in on the actual situations that arise in marriages and in relationships that sometimes we don't address. So let's go ahead and throw out this fair use disclaimer. Some material in this video is used under U.S. copyright fair use section 107 for purposes such as commentary, criticism, news reporting, and education. Today, we will be playing a video of the episode that I found on YouTube. So I'm going to invoke the fair use disclaimer because I'm going to give some commentary. I'm going to give some criticism, and hopefully we'll educate each other to be better human beings, be better men and women, to be better citizens of this here United States of America. So that's what this is about today. We're just going to chit chat a little bit and talk about the last part of Saturday night's episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville season 10, episode number 16. I think it was called Respect Your Yelders, which I think is weird, but hey, who am I? Tonight on the Carlos King show, he will be having Miss Wanda on, who was our guest last night. She will be on Carlos King tonight. I believe it starts at 7:30 or 7 o'clock. So we're going to wrap this up and get off so we can, of course, support Miss Wanda as she is over there. Good evening, living for me. Good evening, Pretty Riri Speaks. Thanks for joining, you guys. I really would love for everybody to get in the comments, to share experiences, because I believe this discussion, even after this actual YouTube live, um, this discussion can go on for years, months, days, down the road. I believe that we can take information from each other and use it in our everyday lives because believe it or not, our lives are so intertwined and tangled up in each other, and then dealing with relationships can just do a whole number on our lives. Hello, that's me, AD. Thanks for joining the live. She said, hello, LadyRo in chat. Hit the like button. Yes, please thumbs up the live if you don't mind. Please thumbs up the live. And let me go ahead. All views expressed in this live are alleged. They're my opinion, and they're only for entertainment purposes. Please don't go out your way to dislike anyone, to hate anyone, to show discord against anyone based on what I say. Because, child, I would just be up here talking, just running my mouth. So we're gonna get on into it. As we know this, we're gonna I'm going to kind of set the scene up. Maurice and Kimmy are headed to dinner or to lunch. I'm not sure which time it was, but it looks like it's about dusk dark in the evening, like the sun is going down. And they're talking about how they enjoyed the 80s party. But Maurice says he enjoys spending time with his baby, and he's talking about Kimmy. So let's get into this and let's see if we can make a little bit of sense out of what we're watching, okay? Let's spread this open a little wider and let's go.
I thrive for my date nights. I actually love them. I love being outside.
I know, man. It's so nice. Feels good.
I like when the weather starts changing. Mm-hmm. And I like hanging out with you.
As you see, this actual dinner date, spending time with her husband starts out really great. And in our lives, our everyday lives, our relationships, our marriages, that sometimes we can really sit down, even though there's some elephants in the room. Sometimes we can sit down to have dinner, to have our moments with our spouses or so on and so forth. And it can really start out good. Then all of a sudden, one word, one phrase can actually change the trajectory of whatever we are talking about. Give me 1 second, plugging up my work laptop. There we go. Hey, Symmetry, thanks for joining the live. One word, one moment, one phrase can really switch what could be a really, really good time with our spouses, our loved ones, our significant others into a really, a change in what we're doing for the evening. So as you see, they started out the night all good. I love being with my honey and yada, yada, yada. And let's see where this conversation goes.
I like dinner. We have to get back to date night.
Yes.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's date day though.
Yeah.
We can do the whole date. We'll just call it date.
Thank you.
Day.
I like that.
I mentioned on yesterday how Kimmy, when talking to Maurice, her voice becomes childlike. She kind of goes into that soft voice and talks real babyish to him, which you could tell the way she has googly eyes. She really loves Maurice. Now, where her standards are on what she gonna take from Maurice, I don't know. But I can tell you just by the way she looks at him, gazes at him, and her voice changing, she really loves her husband.
Mm-hmm. Extra time. I'm learning.
You feel like that?
Yeah. I'm learning more about who I am through this, counseling process.
Kimmy said it's the time that will make sex more quality.
I believe that she believes that. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to learn.
So as you know, the Scots 2.0 have been going to see a therapist. I believe the husband's name is, I don't want to mess up his name, but I know the wife's name is Sonia because I remember that. And they too have been trying to work with Scots 2.0 about how better they could entangle. Now, what is the reason that took them to therapy is beyond me, because we know that the Scots, Marsol and Maurice, were totally against therapy, but we see that this season we saw Marsol with a sex life coach, a sex relationship coach, I believe is what she called herself. And then we see Kimmy and Maurice with an actual therapist, probably a psychiatrist, psychologist. I'm not sure what the credentials are, but we see them seeking out therapy. So something must have triggered the need to go to therapy. And as we see later on in this episode, he kind of mentions something that he doesn't want to spoil their dinner or their time together. So he kind of varies from it, but we can all kind of figure out what he's alluding to.
Emotional intelligence. I may not have it, but I'm going to get it.
I'm getting to know more about you, me. I actually think both of us have made a lot of breakthroughs in therapy. I think particular therapists have been more effective in helping Maurice get to some breakthroughs.
She says these particular therapists, but could it be that Maurice is getting older, and we know as men and women age, things change in the body and in the body systems. So that could be a part of what's going on. It could be a number of things. I'm not really sure. But these particular therapists are making, they're actually chipping away at some of the rocks. And maybe it's their approach. Maybe they just came and approached approached him and his situation from a different angle than most therapists.
And that kind of helps me put a lot of stuff in perspective as well. I guess I just want to make sure that you're not just doing it for me. Mm-hmm. Do you think that it's been helpful? What's your thought, like, about them in general?
I like the different aspect that each one brings. You have two perspectives at the same time. If I have a question, they answer it two completely different ways.
Okay, so last night when I was listening to it, I thought, man, he was analyzing. He did analyze them, don't get me wrong. But he said that was something that he liked. He liked the fact that he had another woman's perspective and he had a man's perspective, which actually was better for him, because the woman who said, oh my God, that's wrong or that's weird. The gentleman, he didn't say the word weird. He didn't use that verbiage. He changed his verbiage and kind of came at it a little softer. But you have to remember, men, sometimes they can be a little fragile. We'll just use that word. They can be a little fragile.
And I don't think, absolutely.
I didn't think that.
You don't think so?
I feel like when they come up with something in their head, mm-hmm. they're giddy about it because they're on the same page.
I think that they're on the same page, but their approach is different. Remember when I said about...
Which is what I just said. One approached it from one angle, the other one approached it from another angle.
Multiple times a day for sex, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Sonya, immediately, yeah, that's not normal. That's... Mm-hmm. Right, Derek was like, he came at it from a completely different perspective and was like, well, why are you going there? I was like, She said it's not normal. And it was almost like, he was like, that's probably not the right word to say for that.
But he also said multiple times a day was not normal.
You're right.
So whereas he saw what it was hearing in two different ways, both of them were saying the exact same thing. One just approached it differently, but that just goes to show the effects of therapy, where one person may go straight into it, where the guy came in from a different angle, gave him a different sentiments, and he heard it totally different way. Lynn for me said he was hearing it two different ways. LOL, like always. Exactly. It was the same conversation, the same response, but he heard it directly from the woman, which he said she made it seem like it was wrong and irresponsible, whereas the guy made it a little bit softer, where it was a little bit more palatable for him.
That didn't happen?
The question would be, why do you go 3 times, desiring to having sex multiple times in a short period of time? Mm-hmm. It's probably coming from self-soothing because it becomes addictive.
He
didn't hear that part. He only heard when the woman said, that was... that's kind of weird or whatever.
Say this is not normal. He said, where is this coming from? Why do you desire this multiple times a day? That was his perspective. And if it's not...
He didn't say why. He gave you a reason why. He said you were self-soothing. He didn't ask you a question. He said you were more than likely self-soothing, just like a pacifier for a baby.
Not coming from an unhealthy place. Then what?
I think he's good at the tools and what you'll receive better because he's a man.
Which is what I said. I believe that the man's perspective was more palatable for Maurice. And we know that Maurice and Marsol and pretty much all the men on this show, probably all of them, I'm not going to exclude anybody. Probably all of them have a patriarchal mindset. They really believe in gender roles and men being the head and yada yada. Marsol definitely believes in it. To believe that Maurice is the same guy, because he talks a lot about leading things and he does take the forefront. I'm not sure if he's actually the leader, but he acts as though he knows what he's talking about. Michelle said, I don't see the two therapists are saying the same thing differently. They said the same thing in different ways. Of course, that was a week ago Saturday instead of this past Saturday episode. So I did not pull that up to go through that whole thing. But the female was saying, that Don't you think that that's excessive? And the man actually said the same thing. You want it so much, it's kind of like a pacifier. You so much is excessive. I will believe that's what he meant with that.
The one who brought up the terminology hypersexuality. That doesn't sound like it's this great, wonderful thing that people just haven't found. It's
right, because the man is the one who mentioned the fact that he thought that Maurice he had hypersexuality.
Sounds as though it's not the norm. Because if it's the norm, why work to change it?
I think that in general, I'll follow up with them on this one. But if you were okay with us having sex multiple times a day, I don't think that they'd stop us. I don't think that they'd change it whatsoever.
I think sometimes Maurice just kind of hears what he wants to hear. And he kind of just, makes up in his mind what he thought he heard. He likes to be right. And this is nothing different.
Here's the reason why their former castmate came out with the terminology for him. What did she call him? Martin Luther. She called him Martin Luther Scott, Martin Luther King Scott, something of that nature. But pretty much insinuating that Maurice is always right, and Maurice has to come out here and give you the long story about it. And he tries to go through and analyze it and give you some picture that really was not actually there. Hello, Queen Script. Thanks for joining the live tonight. We're taking a deeper dive into the conversation with the Scott 2.0, the last part of Saturday night's actual episode. One was trying to not call him weird. That's all it was. But it came out as a different part of the discussion. Correct. The wife, Sonia was actually, she just went on and hit it. Whereas you have the husband, which was Derek. Derek kind of like, okay, this is why you're doing it, because you are trying to self-soothe yourself. So let's go deeper into why you're self-soothing. And then they begin to ask the questions about the refrigerator having a lock on it. How did that make you feel? So on and so forth.
I'm done spending an obscene amount of money on takeout.
Y'all, forgive me. Commercial break. All right, let's get back to it.
He's wrong. I heard.
To me, just in general, this is a problem because there's a difference between my desires and your desires. All right?
It's the immediate issue at hand.
So he said, this is a problem. This is a problem at hand because there's a difference between my desires and your desires. So his desire is to have intercourse quite often, and her desire is maybe to reduce some of the time.
Equally yoked in that area.
No, I don't think so.
And using the word unequally yoked kind of takes it to a different perspective when you say unequally yoked, because hold on, you guys, I am actually typing that in because I want us to actually talk about what it means to be unequally yoked, because that is a biblical term. And I believe him using it kind of takes him, I think he wants to take it to another level. He wants to say, when we got married, we took these vows before God and man. And in the vows, we said that we would love each other for better, for worse, for rich, for poor, sickness and health, yada, 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 yada. But the Bible also talks about being equally yoked, right? Michelle says the husband asked him, where was the desire coming from, causing Maurice to do some introspective work? True. But the husband, Derek, the therapist, actually started the conversation. He took it up where his wife left it off, and he started to talk about, let's talk about the reason why you want to have sex so often, pretty much is what he was saying. So that's what, this is not an argument. We're just kind of stating some reasons of what's going on in this. We're just having a conversation. No arguments, no need going back and forth about that part of it. We know that he likes to have intercourse with his wife, and he likes to have it quite often. This has been an ongoing issue between Kimmy and Maurice for a while. This isn't anything new. This has been going on for a while. The issue is, how do they come to a happy medium and be able to live comfortably as husband and wife? Because that apparently is the issue at hand. You say, okay, I'm driving for the train, but as soon as I get home, I got some more to say. Okay, Michelle, you are more than welcome to say whatever you got to say. Trust me. Let's go over here and look at this term, unequally yoked. I believe that is something that we definitely should explore. Unequally yoked means joined, partnered, or connected with someone who does not share the same values, beliefs, or direction, especially in a way that causes imbalance or conflict. Origin. The phrase comes from the Bible, 2 Corinthians 6:14, and is based on form and imagery. A yoke is a wooden bar that ties two animals together to plow a field. And if you've ever seen anyone plow a field with a horse or an ox, they use a yoke for the plow. And I watched it because I used to watch my uncle plow the field. Thank God for those great memories. If the animals are unequally in strength, size, or pace, the work becomes difficult, crooked, or damaged. Meaning in real life, being unequally yoked can apply to relationships, romantic or marriage, friendships, business partnerships, connections, spiritual connections. It suggests that when two people are tied together but don't share the same faith, don't have aligned morals, don't have the same life goals, don't respect each other's values, the connection can lead to strain, confusion, or spiritual/emotional imbalance. A simple example is one person is focused on growth, integrity, and purpose. The other person is focused on chaos, shortcuts, and conflicting priorities. They are being pulled in different directions, making progress harder. In essence, unequally yoked connection in a way that slows you down, pulls you off course, or compromises who you are. That is what unequally yoked actually means. And so when he used that word, the one thing that came to my mind was, oh my God, that is such a strong use of verbiage that's strong verbiage to use when in your marriage. That is something I don't know that you should just throw out there all willy-dilly. I really believe that when you use the word unequally yoked, you should really be ready to sit down and have the hard discussions. That is something that I really when I heard that, I said, okay, something else is going on. There's trouble in paradise. That's the first thing that popped in my mind. Because any marriage, if you're happy, you're not going to say we're unequally yoked. That's not something that you're going to throw out there. That's just not. You're going to take the time, reflect, because you don't want to use words that would damage your relationship even further. But I will say this about men. I know sometimes women are more reserved about what we'll say when we're angry or when some women. Let me back that up. Some women, because some women will say anything, but some women, when they're in partnership, they will be reserved about what they say. But most men in partnership, when they mad, and sometimes they say things that you can't take back. Saying things like we're unequally yoked, or that I see we're headed to a divorce. Those are words you can't take back. So when those words come out of a man's mouth, his mind is normally already made up. Queen Script said that was a strong term to use. I totally agree. She said I was shocked. So was I. Because I really feel like, again, when you use that verbiage, you have to be prepared to sit down and have that conversation. Because that conversation is really what is needed. Let's move on in the show. Let me go back and share it again. I forgot I had shared something else. Let's go.
Because it's not always been that way. And that's the part those are the bridges that we have to find.
So was it
remake, recreate?
Was it not normal before?
I think at this point, when he says, was it not normal before? To me, that was him being a little bit manipulative, trying to throw blame on you started this. kind of situation. I may be wrong. Let's talk about that part as well. Tell me what you think of this.
This is a problem because there's a difference between my desires and your desires. Right?
It's not always been that way.
Was it not normal before?
Maurice, don't act like that was like an everyday, all the time thing.
I'm just saying, you know,
it has happened several times, but we're not gonna act like that was an everyday thing.
She actually goes through this and she explains that when they first got together, he was working construction. She would meet up with him, and she apparently they were having it over and over and over. As a married woman, as a young one, at one point was very young, I could say that does happen in life. But is that who I am today? No. And I think other women could probably vouch for that same thing. Is that who you are right now as you mature? No. You want to go home and go to bed and go to sleep.
It was never
and it was never like you would get angry. Like if it didn't happen, it just didn't happen. Mm-hmm. You get like
it happened all the time.
It didn't happen all the time.
It didn't happen all the time.
You see her bite her lip and shake her head. This anger is taking her somewhere else because now he's angry because he wants it and she may not want it. As we know, Kimmy is, I believe, over the age of 50. So we can probably, and she's gone through chemo. She's had breast cancer. She's dealt with some really serious things. And as women age, there are things that just happen to our body. One of those things is called menopause. And in menopause, your desires is the word I'm going to use. It kind of lessens, it decreases because your estrogen starts to decrease and your testosterone starts to rise. You'll go through hot flashes. You may develop hair in places that you shouldn't be growing hair, like your chin. Other areas that you don't normally grow hair, you'll see hair growing. Things will just get different. Real different. And so while not only did she go through chemo, which messes with your hormones, then you're in menopause messing with your hormones. Who knows what her libido is like, right? So that to me is one thing, right? And then you have a man who is saying what his desire is. Queen Script says most men have a lower drive. They do. Most men do have a lower drive as they get older, but I will tell you this. I worked in ED for a while. And one thing I will tell you that I told all the gentlemen who came in and asked for our services, the male part is a muscle, right? All it needs to be done, just like your arm lifting weights to build that muscle, is work it out. Keep working out that muscle to stay strong, right? Even if you don't, even if the end, which is the climax, isn't there, if you keep working that muscle out, it's going to stand up. It's going to be strong. That's why they give gentlemen pumps, because that organ is a muscle and it just needs to build muscle up, period. And if he's working it out like he say he is, he probably is as strong as he says he is. Men can have children up until their 80s and 90 years old, if their pumper still works. Symmetry said, especially once you start experiencing perimenopause and menopause. Exactly. And let's not forget also she went through chemo. She had breast cancer. She's, there's a lot that goes on into that. So I'm sure that she's experienced things that he definitely does not understand, because he's only looking for his needs to be met. Kind of selfish, definitely.
Okay. You think it oftentimes only happened once? Oftentimes it was more than once, wasn't it? In a day.
No, it's not oftentimes. Okay. No.
You were the person disappointed when we didn't. Right.
Well, that's because we met once a week.
I remember differently than you do.
So now she's explaining to him, we met once a week. When we met once a week, we were doing it like bunnies all day long. And now, here I am, a woman of a certain age. You're getting older. My son is grown. Your son has just finished high school. we're moving, and I've battled this, and I've had a port in, I've had chemo, and my life is going through these changes. She's not saying any of this, but I can almost tell you this is probably what's going through her head. And I'm not that woman that you met who was doing it like that. I'm just not her anymore.
You want to remember it differently because you want me to be the villain.
I don't want you to be the villain.
You want me to be the villain, and it's just
Why
that's
would I
not the
want
case.
you to be the villain?
He has actually mastered manipulation. This is a manipulator, and you're watching him gaslight her. Seriously, in real time. We are watching him gaslight her, looking her directly in her eye and gaslighting her to get what he wants.
I don't know. I keep trying to figure it out. There goes my nice date night. The fact of the matter is, at the start of date night, Maurice actually said he thought therapy was working. When we're in therapy, it seems like things are going well. He has the right answers. We say the right things. But this conversation makes me feel like maybe what I'm seeing in therapy isn't exactly. When you shop in the Tom Thumb app,
Oh Lord, did I mess up something? Y'all got this out the internet, so we may, this is one of those Chinese channels they don't always show, and this is the end. So I don't have it all. I should have gotten it all from last night's episode because I had it recorded and I don't know where it is. But as he moves forward, he tells her he does not want to mention, he didn't want to ruin their date, even though we see at the point with the unequally yoked and him remembering her, trying to tell her that you're the one who used to initiate all the time. I believe that is what initiated when the conversation started taking a slippery slope. Queen Script says, yeah, he was aggravating me so bad. Me too. And I felt like that it actually needed a deeper dive, because I really feel as though a lot of times as men and women in relationships, we allow men, our spouses, I'm not gonna say men, sometimes we allow our spouses to gaslight us or to manipulate us, for choice of better words. And how far are we willing to take that? And are we willing to decrease ourselves just so that we can remain in partnership with this person? Let me see. I have the actual own version under. Let's watch, see what this says. There we go. We're gonna watch this. This is actually the commercial or their advertisement. Let's see if this actually talks about the part that I really am interested in. Sorry, you guys.
And it looks like we're gonna
what?
I don't know.
You start over.
I definitely have changed. And it looks like we're gonna
what?
I don't know.
We're gonna what?
And I'm not gonna speak negativity over our lives.
Why?
Her heart is panting. We're gonna what? We're gonna what? Go me on TV and say this to me.
Would you? Why would you?
I'm not. That's why I said I'm not gonna do it.
Why would you even think it?
Because I think it.
All the while shaking his head, yes.
Think what? You said before we even went to therapy, you want me to be happy even if we're not together.
He's already told you he is ready to get a divorce. Come on, girl. He's already warned you where this is leading up to. I'm ready to get divorced. You apparently are damaged goods. I've gotten all the sex out of you that I'm going to get. It's time to move on to somebody else, girl. That's what I believe he said. I don't know. I'm just making a funny, but that's what it sounds like.
So Is that what this comment you don't want to spill out is about?
Child, it is. That's exactly what that comment is, that he does not want to spill out. Symmetry said, we extend a lot of grace, more than we should, Symmetry. More than we should. After being gaslit, after verbally being told, I don't want you, or we need to get a divorce. We are unequally yoked. This isn't working. I want this. I want that. Living for Me said, I would really give him something to think about, Buster. Yeah. I would tell you this. As wives, as women, how often do we put ourselves on the back burner and allow our partners to take the forefront, and we cave into them and we give them everything they want, sometimes to our own detriment? Okay, I want X, Y, and Z, but I can't get it because he wants to do X, Y, and Z, or he wants A, B, C. Or tonight when I get out of work, I'm tired. I'm really aggravated. I had a hard, stressful day. And I just want to go home, take a hot shower, put on my PJs and get in the bed. But he wants to get it in. But that's not really where I'm feeling like today. So what do? I get in the bed and give in. And what is intercourse if it's not enjoyable for the two of you? If it's only enjoyable for one person, if only one person is getting what their needs met and the other person is not. And I'm not a big male fan, but I'm going to bring up something that she said in relations to Martell. And I heard a lot of people, this can't be true, that can't be true, that can't be true. But she made the comment that she had never achieved an erection while being married to Martell. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, why would she say something like that? She's lying. But if you read statistics and you're in the healthcare professional industry, or if you know anything about men and women in relationships, or if you've taken the time to explore your own body, you would understand that what she's saying is probably true. I believe there was a study done. 2 out of 10 women let me reverse that. 2 out of 10 women have said they've achieved a orgasm while having relations or intimate relations with a man. 2 out of 10. If you don't believe me, read the statistics for yourself. It's a fact. It's a fact. Women can be married to the same man for years and never, ever achieve an orgasm. I remember, and I'm sure most of you guys can remember as well, the movie Color Purple. Celie would talk about Mr. climbing on top of her, doing his business. And Suge said, you sound like you're going to the bathroom. She said, that's what it feels like. For some women, that is indeed a fact. And if you ever sit down and talk to some of our older parents who got married very, very young, let me tell you something. I sat down with older aunts and uncles. Aunt born in 1917, aunt born, I ain't sit down and talk about this with my uncles because, baby, I know they probably would have been talking about some weird stuff. But my aunts, 17, 1920, 1922. And this was some of the conversations that they shared with me. Getting married so young that it didn't. My aunt who was married in 1917 told me that she never enjoyed a moment. A moment. She had 9 children. She said, I was like, well, you had 9 kids? And she said, because I had an old doggish husband. I was like, what? What does that mean? And you know what? My mother would use the same terminology when it came down to children. Doggish husband, because they felt like, because the Bible says that 2 have to agree not to have intercourse with your husband, you have to just automatically lay down and take it, and then you end up pregnant and you got to carry this baby for 9 months. You got to work out in the fields and you got to do all the things. My aunt told me, she said, I would get pregnant and I would go through the fields because they told me if you would carry things that, you would miscarry. So she said she would carry things. This is a lady who was having babies in the 30s. She was born 1917. She said she would carry anything she could that was heavy, thinking that, she wouldn't be able to carry the baby to term. And she said it would do anything but make the baby stronger and healthier. Every baby came bigger and bigger and bigger. She told me this out of her own mouth. Every baby came bigger and bigger. And as a young girl, she told me, don't get married and don't have no babies. Those are her words to me. And I was like, why did you say that? And she was like, I'm serious. You laughing. I'm serious. She said, I never wanted to get married. Why did you get married at the age of 17? She said, because that's what girls did. My mom and daddy had a bunch of kids, and I felt like if I got married and started a family, then there would be one less mouth for her to feed, my parents to have to feed. Wow. So we endured that in the 20s. I'm sure my grandmother endured it. She was born in 1900. So if you endured it in the hundreds, and I'm sure it was done before that time, and on time because they've been browbeat with the Bible that you got to agree or you got to give it up, and you got to give it up. So you lay there and you take it. And back then they didn't have any kind of contraceptive, so they were having baby after baby after baby and getting sick, and children were passing away in childbirth because they didn't have the hospitalization or the medical care and treatment that we have today. And we are still following those same rules from the hundreds, the 1900s, the 1910s, the 1920s, and people are still doing those exact same things today. Still taking it. So, okay, we don't agree, so I'm just going to lay here and take it, even though I'm not going to get any pleasure out of it, even though it's aggravating me, even though while he's up here, I'm thinking to myself, when is he going to get done? Is this going to hurry up and be over? You see what I'm saying? Symmetry said, it is indeed a fact. Thank you, Symmetry. It is indeed a fact. So to say that someone, she's lying because someone said he had a hook and a curve, that doesn't mean anything when it comes down to a woman climaxing or a man. A man can, they can use their hand in climax, but a woman can't do those exact same things. She can, but it's a whole different type of show. All right. So when we're talking about two indeed getting together, because I will tell you this, the one thing I told the gentlemen in ED classes when I would teach them, that 50 to 65% of achieving this hardness that you're trying to achieve comes from the mind. Same way with women. The things that you need to get where you need to be to achieve a climax on the woman, it comes from the mind. And if your mind is not in it, what are you actually doing? What are you actually doing? Or you're not getting any enjoyment. So what exactly are you doing? Is that self-serving? We talk about people voting against their own self-interest, but what are we doing as in relationships if I am married and I am laying here taking it because I want him to be fulfilled? Otherwise, he may go out from here and seek someone outside of this relationship. I am so afraid that he's going to seek someone outside of this relationship or this marriage that I will lay here and take it and go against my own self-interest. Women, wake up. Wake up. Symmetry said, woo, speak on it. I just really, when I thought about it, it actually moved me to tears. And it moved me to tears for personal reasons. Because sometimes in life, we can relate to some of the things that these women endure. The communication has to be there. I need to effectively be able to communicate with my partner, my husband, my spouse, my lover. I need to be able to sit down and tell you, this is what bothers me. These are the issues I have, and we need to correct some of this. But if I am only trying to make you happy and never any of my needs be fulfilled, then what am I truly doing? What am I truly doing? Am I helping? Am I getting any kind of self-gratification out of this? We're only self-gratifying you and not me. Where do I come into play? And Kimmy, baby, if you listen to this, where do you come into play? I pray to God that Kimmy and Maurice are not divorced. I pray to God that they're not divorcing, that they don't want to divorce. I pray that he's gotten the help he needs and has the tools he needs to be able to help her meet her needs, because that's what partnership is about, right? The Bible says, and I went back into this word. The Bible says that husband and the wife is a helpmeet, right? So if I'm your helpmeet, that means you need to in turn take into consideration some of my needs. If I'm only taking in your needs, then baby, guess what? We already got this game mixed up. It's already all wrong and it's not going to work from jump. Pretty Riri Speaks said exactly. Effective communication has gone away. And that is so true. We do not talk to each other in relationships effectively. And that is one thing that I have taught my children, and probably maybe too much, especially my girls. My son has been married. But my girls, I believe you need to effectively be able to communicate. I believe that if someone is not willing to at least meet you halfway, then they are not for you. They are not for you. If I need X, Y, and Z, and you can only supply me with A, B, C, which are not any of the things that I need, then you are not, let's X you out. That's unequally yoked. But if I can supply you with, if you can supply me with X, Y, and Z, and maybe you only have Y, or maybe you only have Z, then maybe we can work on getting the X in there somewhere. But if you only can give me A, B, and C, and you aren't willing to compromise and try to figure out how we can get to X, Y, and Z, then baby, we are already losing. We are losing. I'm going to tell you this story, because I love to tell a good story. My brother, who we lost last year, at the beginning of the year, he and my sister-in-law had been married for almost 44 years before he passed away. They would have celebrated their 44th anniversary last year. They had one child. But the one thing my sister-in-law told me, oh, I got the perfect marriage. She would say that all the time. And I'd be like, girl, go on. Girl, go on. I say sister-in-law, but she's more like my sister, because I can call her and we stay on the phone 2 or 3 hours laughing. In fact, I texted today and we text back and forth so much. She was like, let me go. I got to go back to work. And I said, me too, girl, but I'm having a good time talking over this text. But she told me over and over, we have the perfect marriage. We have the perfect marriage. And I knew I have really great brothers, but I knew my brother was a little different. I called him stingy. But when it came to my sister-in-law, he wasn't as stingy as he was with his little sister. And so I remember I went shopping with them one time. We went shoe shopping at the shoe store I wanted to go to. And they were having this sale, buy one, get 50% off. They had like 9 West. They had all the name brand shoes back in the day, in the 90s. And so my sister-in-law looks at my brother and she says, which shoe should I get? And he goes, I don't know, baby, either one you want. She goes, well, I work every day. I'll get both of them. And it was so funny. She went to the checkout counter, got both of them, and we left. I got my little shoes and we left. And later on, we had another conversation. She was telling me, she said, girl, me and your brother have the perfect marriage. I was like, girl, you keep saying that. I had the opportunity while my townhouse was being repaired to stay with them for a week. And I actually stayed with them 2 weeks, because it was supposed to be a week and something else happened. And it took 2 weeks for them to get everything replaced that needed to be done. So I stayed with them and I watched as my brother, he would come home from work. He'd go in the kitchen, start dinner. My sister-in-law would come in. She would make the iced tea, make a salad. She would make us some type of sides. Or my sister-in-law would be cooking dinner. My brother would come in. He would make the iced tea or make some kind of side. They worked together. My brother paid all of the bills. He did this, he did that. I watched him on certain days of the week. He had a thing in his garage up on the wall of a whiteboard, and he would have certain days written on there, and he would have a check by it. I didn't realize then those were the days he would take her car and fill it up. When he passed away, my sister-in-law said, I haven't pumped gas in so long, I don't even know where to start. I haven't paid a bill in so long. But my brother was so methodical that he had a folder with every bill with the check already a paperclip to the bill. All she had to do was put it in the mail, and he had written down what he paid online with the passwords. He had everything mapped out for her, but he took such a burden off of her. When at his wake, I got up and I talked. I don't talk at nobody's services. I don't talk at nobody's funerals. But I spoke at his wake and I talked about how I saw him serve his wife. Her birthday is a day after our mother's. Every year he would say, "What we doing for mama? Because I've got to take my wife and celebrate her birthday." The last gift that he bought her, which was the year before he passed away, he bought her a tennis necklace for her birthday. Maybe when she pulled it out the safe and showed it to me, I was like, "Oh my girl, put that up. Put that up." Because every year he bought her some new jewelry. I have text messages of pictures where he was like, "Hey, I got a ring redone, or I bought her a new ring for our anniversary." And he told me she's deserving of that and more. She is the perfect wife. And she was saying he's the perfect husband. But it was because they effectively communicated. They would sit out on the porch. She told me before he passed away a story that she said the pastor had preached at church on Sunday about a penny and how if you save these pennies, how much money you would have at the end of the year. And she said she told my brother, she was like, "I don't understand that. That made no sense." And she said they were sitting on the back patio and he explained it to her. And she's like, "Well, baby, do you have a penny?" I think it was a nickel maybe. And he said, "I don't have a nickel, but I have a dime." And she said he took the dime out of his pocket and he gave it to her. And he said, "Now you save your dimes and you put that dime up. And before the end of the year, you're going to have a collection of dimes." She told me this story 2 days after he passed away. 2 days. Mighty crazy. I'm getting to work. I get out of one car, switching over to my personal car, and I look on the ground and there are 2 dimes laying, shiny dimes. And I always look at the ground when I get in and out of the car. And I thought, oh my God. Right after she told me this story. So I screenshot and I sent her a picture and I was like, "Look what I found on the ground today." And she said, "He's still talking to us." After my brother passed away, we left the hospital, went back to his house, and she beelined it to the patio. So I was like, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I had to go outside to get my dime. I left it on the patio last night while we were talking. So I had to go outside to get my dime." People long for that type of relationship. People pray for that type of relationship. And it's rare. It's rare. It's very, very rare. In fact, it was so much after I spoke at his wake. She said people were asking her at church on Sunday, "When you're well, when your grief is over, do you mind, coming to talk to us and teaching the young women how to effectively communicate with their partner?" And she said, "I had to tell them, baby, my husband was one of a kind. I don't think they make them like him anymore." And I believe that they do make them. It's humanity wants me to believe that they do make men like that again. They still make men like that. But it has to be a lot of giving and taking. Relationships are a lot of giving and taking. And sometimes as a wife, I feel like I do a lot of giving and the other person do a lot of taking. And you know what? To him, he probably feels like he does a lot of giving and I do a lot of taking. And that's probably because the communication is not as effective as we would love it to be or as we need it to be in a relationship. Pretty Riri speaks says, "I love that. Healthy Velcro relationships." I loved it too because he would be like, my sister-in-law would tell me things like he would come home and be like, "Hey baby, I'm fixing to run to the store. You want to ride with me?" Or he would come home from work and when she'd get home, he was like, "Are you tired?" And she said sometimes she was like, "Oh yeah, honey, because she was always use the word honey. That's her favorite word. "Yeah, honey, I'm a little tired." He was like, "Well, I was hoping you would get dressed." And she was like, "Why?" He's like, "I want to take you somewhere and show you something." And again, I thought he was the frugal type brother. But child, they all at the Ruth Chris eating dinner, prime rib place, and this place and that place. One day he sent me this picture. They were at a barbecue spot on the water. So I'm like, "Where you at?" He said, "We're in Destin, Florida." He said, "I just woke up and decided I wanted to bring my woman to Destin." So we just got on the plane. I was like, oh my God, I long for that type of relationship. But it was because they had effective communication. He listened. She listened. And together they worked together to build. When my brother passed on, they had home paid for, cars paid for, everything in order because of the effective communications that they had. And we have got to come on, Queen Script. She said he never stopped courting his wife. He never did. One day I'm gonna have to show y'all a picture in the Mod Squad group of my brother and my sister-in-law. Baby, when I tell you they were a match made together, been together since I was a kid. And the crazy part is, Pretty Riri Speak says, oh, my eyes are sweating. Rest in heaven to your brother. Thank you. The crazy part is, as a kid, my brother was really mean to me, but he's almost 16 years my senior. He's 15 years older than I am, almost 16. And growing up, he had this candy apple red Camaro. It wasn't red when he bought it, but he had it painted red, and he loved his Camaro. He was always outside the house rubbing on his car. I can vaguely remember him being at home. But the one thing I will tell you was that I was an agitator. So I would walk out. If he was washing his car, I would take my hand and just rub it down the side. He didn't want any spots, anything on his car. And he would take that wet towel. I could see him now twisting it up as tight as he could, and he would pop it. And you talking about a sting. You have been popped with a wet towel, baby, that hurts. And he would pop me all the way into the house. If I made it out the house, I was a little girl, I was probably 3 or 4. But I can still remember that. I can remember him washing that car, me messing with his car. And then when he met my sister-in-law, she just took it on, oh, this is his little sister and she bad. She would tell everybody, this is his little sister and she's bad. And I thought, I don't like her either. But when I tell you, my sister-in-law is my sister. I do not even call her sister-in-law. I call her sis. Hey, sis. Hey, sis. I say sister-in-law when I'm talking to other people because that's a distinguish of who she is. But she is my sister. She has been in my family child almost as long as I've been born. So she is absolutely my sister. But to watch her relationship with my brother was amazing. It was nothing short of amazing. And again, I watched my parents' relationship. My parents they didn't fight each other. They worked a smooth ship together, and together they had a lot. And the things that we share among brothers and sisters, sometimes what the older brothers and sisters saw in mom and dad and what the younger group saw, because I had the perfect parents. I thought my parents were part of the Lever to Beaver family. The only thing was they slept in the same king size bed, but I thought I didn't, leave it to Beaver because I didn't see any arguing. I didn't see anybody fighting. I saw 2 people working together to have a life that they enjoyed. They went to church together. So did my brother. But that was the way we were raised. Take your family to church. Don't just go to church. I mean, don't send them to church. That was my mom's logo. Don't just send your family to church. You go to church with your family. And that's one thing that the way we were raised, and a lot of us kept that as we got one. He be tripping sometimes, but Chad, we're going to pray for him that he get back in the church. A to the man. Pretty Riri Speak said, LOL. Oh, I was an agitated baby. When I tell you, they be telling me about some of the stuff I used to do, and I remember it. Girl. My brother had my youngest brother of the family. I'm the youngest, but the youngest brother of the family, girl, he had a filing cabinet. And one night I stayed up. He worked. He went to school, and then because he went to a technical school that was doing engineering. He has a master's degree in something else right now. He's not even an engineer, but he was in the engineering program. And so he would go to work as an IT tech in engineering in the evenings after school. So, girl, I spent all night with a knife and a screwdriver trying to get into his filing cabinet. Child, I got the beating of my life for tearing up his stuff. She said, I bet you remember this thing. Keep your hands off. LOL. Child, let me tell you something. That candy apple red Camaro got me in a lot of trouble. My mom, like I told you, was a beautician, and she would call him sometimes, tell him to come pick me up and take me home. Especially if my older siblings had came home from school before I started school. Again, he's way older than I am. And so he would come pick me up and he would say, you better not touch my car. You better not put your hands on my car. Get your hands off. I mean, he'd be talking between his teeth because he didn't want mama to hear him, because she would get on to him about the way they treated me. And my daddy he would clean the house if he heard anybody say something crazy to me. And he was like, you better not touch my car. Baby, as soon as I get to that car, I'll put my hand either on the window. I'll put my hand somewhere. Oh my God. As soon as I get in the car, he would pinch my leg. I can't wait to get you out of my car. I thought he hated me until I became an adult. And Baby, when I say that was my buddy, I got text message after text message. Sometimes I just sit down and listen to his voicemails or listen to his text messages because he was always sending me something. He bought a new truck. What you think, little sis? And I was like, this you? Because he knows I love cars just as much as he loves cars. You're like, yeah. But just to know that he was that type of man, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole. I wanted to stay on the very fact of effective communication and what we as women actually deal with in our lives. As you know, I mean, are we willing to just accept anything just to say, hey, I got a man, but girl, he get on me and hump on me three or four times a day and I don't really like it. Are we willing to deal with that? Because we know that our ancestors dealt with that, right? And some of our ancestors dealt with people humping on them. They didn't want humping on them, but that's a conversation for another day. And then I just told you about an aunt who was born in 1917 who told me that she had so many kids because she had a doggish husband. And I began to remember about The Color Purple and how Celie talked about how Mister would get on her and do his business. Child, what are we accepting as women? And I believe that a lot of times we see a lot of single women nowadays that are professionals, Black women especially, who have, or CEOs, CFOs, who have the degrees, the bachelors, the masters, the doctorates. We are seeing that in real time every day, and they are not married. They don't have families. They don't have children. It's because they've chosen their career sometimes over relationships, because those relationships don't always serve them. Not only that, they've seen bad relationships. I had a young lady who was friends with my daughter. We were talking, just sitting around with the girls talking about relationships. Why aren't you in a relationship? Or have you been? Oh, yes, I just, I can't find a gentleman who meets my needs, or that, or every guy I find, they're cheater, they're doing this or they're doing that, or I'm not willing to compromise. And this guy comes to the table, he wants to drive my car, but he don't have no car. And this is the stories these young ladies have over and over and over and over. What are we requiring of our men except the fact that they have an organ that will help someone achieve an climax? What are we requiring of our young men? What are we requiring of I'm going to say that again. What are we requiring of our young men? What are we putting in place to help the next generation? It seems like we are spoiling our boys and pushing our girls through education. The girls out here making hundreds of thousands. These girls is making six-figure salaries. Baby, when I sit among my oldest daughter's friends, even my youngest daughter's friends, I'm talking to CEOs of Fortune 500 companies. I'm talking to women that are sitting in executive offices. I'm talking to women who have their own businesses and are making strides in this world. What are our young men doing? Because when I sit with my son and his friends, I be like, dang, y'all are a weird group. Okay, what y'all doing? Well, what you doing? There's a couple of friends in the military, but what are the rest of them doing? What are we requiring of our men? Go back to that. Except the fact that they can help you achieve an organ, or to say, hey, I got a guy. I got this dude. This is my man. Because if you really think about it, that's not a flex. And I will say this, a lot of married women want to be single, and a lot of single women want to be married. What's the problem with that? That comes with a big question mark as well. What is going on with the fact that a lot of women who are single feel like they need to be married? What is the problem with a lot of women who are married who feel like they need to be single? Let's take Dr. Simone, for example. Wait, Live For Me said, wait, I remember some couldn't. That's true. That's true. Could be the reason. Could be the fact that if I could take myself to Cancun, to Punta Cana, to Hawaii, to Egypt, to Cairo, to Italy, to Bali, to the Bahamas. If I can do that for myself and you can't take me down the street to Austin, then what are we talking about? We are really unequally yoked. And from my understanding, Kimmy carries the bulk of a lot of what goes on between her and Maurice, allegedly. I'm not sure because I don't know. I'm not reading. I can't count their pockets. I'm not going to count their pockets. Queen Chris said, Lord, I feel bad for Dr. Simone. Dr. Simone on Married to Medicine has told us she wanted a divorce. She told us some seasons ago she wanted a divorce, and at the reunion, she said, me and Cecil are getting a divorce. And people started crying, and they started a prayer meeting, and the people got on their knees and say, oh, Lord, she want a divorce, Jesus. Step in the room, Lord, put them back together, God. And next thing we know, Cecil and I have decided that we're going to go to counseling and work on our marriage. Girl, don't let nobody force you to stay with nobody you don't want to be with. Because here you are, some years later, going over warming up the same old soup, as my mama used to say. You stirring up the same old soup about the same old situation. You still mad because you feel like Cecil ain't did this, and this. Stay out of people's business. Because guess what? I'm going to blame my friend because she told me I need to stay with this sucker. That ain't right. That ain't right. Symmetry said she let them. She did let them. But child, peer pressure is a booger bear. It was about 20 of them around her. One of them was on her knees. Oh, Simone. Come on, Simone. Come, give it to God, Simone. Give it to the Lord. Let him use you. And she let him use her, right? Oh, she said she let them emotionally. Exactly. She let them emotionally manipulate her into staying with someone that she had an issue with. This past episode of Married to Medicine was so good. And I believe there's a part in there where Cecil talks to Simone and you see a glimmer of light. I will say this. I believe Cecil loves Simone. I believe that they are probably in a rough patch, and if they can work it out, that's fine. That's fine. But I really believe that if people are saying they want that this relationship is unsolvable, we have irreconcilable differences, then let them people do what they want to do. Quit trying to hold people in a relationship. Because baby, I'm tell you something, you supposed to be the prize. My mom and daddy told me a long time ago, the woman is the prize. So when do we switch this thing and make the men the prize? Somebody tell me, because I really would like to know. When do we switch this thing and say, okay, the women you done had enough, we're going to make the prize be the man. Child. And that's what's been happening since probably the early 2000s. The men have been the prize. Oh, I got me a man. Girl, what? What? Are you serious? Used to be the man would court the woman, chase the woman, open up the door for the woman, buy the food for the woman. Now people want to go out on a date for you. They want you to pay for the meal. Let's go Dutch. You pay for your food, I pay for mine. How do y'all feel about that? If you go on a date with a man, do you expect him to pay for your food? If he invites you out on a date? And also, people are doing unconventional methods when it comes down to dating, speed dating, computer dating, well, online dating rather, setting up dates with your friend, all kinds of different conventional ways with dating. And for me, said, what your man got to do with me? I ain't trying to hear that, G. Exactly. So I just really feel like Kimmy and Maurice have been married since they got married in 2018. So maybe they're having the 7-year itch. Who knows? Who knows what they're having? Is it the 5 or the 7-year itch? Well, maybe they are having the itch. What I will say is that I don't think anyone should be trying to force anyone to stay in a relationship that really isn't interested in being in a relationship. I think we as adults, men, women, should really look for in our relationships the greater good, the communication skills. If communication isn't top notch, even with dating, walk away. We got to learn to read the signs, read the room. Read the room. If the communication is not there, you need to walk on. Let me tell you something. When I was dating, there were things I would ask gentlemen on dates, like, how do you feel about marriage? They had one say, oh, I've never thought about getting married. He was 10 years my senior. You never thought about getting married? No. Okay. Child, I didn't say nothing else. From that point on, I kept thinking to myself, lose my number, because you ain't never hear from me again. Because I was not meant to be sitting over here chit-chatting with you all day long and never having a connection. Because marriage does give you that connection, and it legally ties you with some things. We ain't gonna like act like that didn't happen. You get married, you're legally entitled to some things that you build together. When you're not married, you're not entitled to things that you may build together. So that's one facet of marriage. But I will say you shouldn't be married and be unhappy. But you shouldn't be unhappy and then entangling your business with someone who you're unhappy with. And moving back to Kimmy, I just really feel like her being embarrassed on TV is a lot. It's a lot. And she has a man child. So what is that teaching her man child about how you've watched your mom be treated on TV? We've already heard Jalen early in the season talking about how he felt like Maurice was not a father figure to him, and that he felt like Marsau was more of a father figure. I'm gonna drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and talk about this. But I really feel like Kimmy's embarrassed. I think she's dealt with a lot of shame. This man mentioned to her about bringing his ex-wife to live in the same city and state that they live in, and paying for his ex-wife and her current husband's rent for a year. And I remember he actually had already offered it to his ex-wife, and then on vacation mentioned it to his current wife, and she sat out on the crying. I don't know if anybody else remembers that scene. They were at where were they at? It was the episode where Mel tells them that she's pregnant with Sugar Mama. Or she thinks she's pregnant. She tells Martell rather. But that was when she felt that way. I just got an alert saying Carlos is live, so I'm gonna hurry up and end this live. But I really want us as women and the kings, men, to think about how we effectively communicate with each other, with our significant others, with our loves, with our spouses, our partners on life, and how these life lessons can teach us things as we move on through life. How do we partner with each other? What do I expect from you? What do you expect from me? That's that. Michelle said, I just got a notification that Carlos King is live, and I did too. And I just said that. So, you guys, I'm going to say bye for now, but we're going to keep on this conversation. The Marriage to Medicine review will be coming out probably tomorrow. You guys have a wonderful night, and I'll see you over there on Carlos King's channel. Bye-bye.